going to show you another technique. What I've got here is a piece of acrylic or glass over a pattern, and I've actually piped onto it with royal icing. Let it dry for at least a day, preferably a week, and then pick it up and onto my plaque, which is soft sugar paste, it's only just been rolled out, push down and impress the royal icing pattern into the soft paste. And then when you take it off, you have your pattern impressed. Right, now this is too soft for me to work on, so I'll have to leave this for a day or two until the paste hardens off. But I've got one here where the pattern has been impressed, and as you can hear, the paste is quite hard now. For brush embroidery, which is quite an old traditional technique, you use royal icing and piping gel. Now piping gel looks like this, and I'm going to mix a little bit into my royal icing. Always remember, when you're leaving royal icing for any length of time, keep it covered because it'll just crystallize. Little bit of gel, you put about half a teaspoon into a cup of royal icing. Stir it round and then put that into your piping bag. I've actually got my piping bags all filled and they're all coloured, ready to start. So move that out of the way, and that. The most important bit of equipment, apart from your piping bag, is a paintbrush, and it has to be a good sable brush because you must be able to get a good point that is going to hold. You need a little bit of water and also a damp cloth to take off any excess. I'm going to start with the stems and the leaves, and with any picture like this you work from the back of the picture to the front. So you find the thing that is furthest away, and in this case the leaves are behind the flowers, so we'll start with the leaves. Pipe a line around the edge, a little bit of extra piping into the points of the leaf. Take your brush, dampen it, flatten it between your finger and thumb, and then point it. So you're actually going to use the underneath surface of the brush. And then you very carefully brush it. A little bit more icing in. I like working on a low turntable because I can rotate it as I need to. Long strokes. Then I can pipe the stem line in as well. Now, unless you're doing very fine work, you want to use a #1 tube rather than a nought or anything else. Use finer tubes, you don't get enough icing to pull. We'll start with the flower that's here. Now pipe your outline, and remember I'm working from the back of the flower, so I'm putting in the back petal first. Then you can pipe in a second line. This will give you the bulk of the icing to pull. And then to shade it, I'm now going to pipe in some white. It doesn't matter how shaky your hand is for this because the bulk of the job is done with your brush, and I'm using #3 for this because I want to pull the icing. Pick it up from the outside edge and brush it down into the centre. It doesn't matter if you go over the edge lines because this isn't like a flooding. One isn't going to run into the other. The icing, because it's just got the gel in it, gives you enough time to work it, to brush it, but it's not going to run from one to the other. So I can then come back in and do my next petals, following that line around. Quite a lot of icing. That's why I said you don't have to be terribly skilled. Give yourself enough icing to play with, that's the main thing. Remember, it's a damp brush not a wet one. So take off the excess icing or the excess water between your fingers. Long strokes. Don't dab at it. You dab at it, you'll get a completely different effect. So it's long strokes. Okay, so we have here the pink flower. You can see I've done this one before I did the pink one, but as it was the biggest, I used it to demonstrate. And to finish it off, I've got some dry dusting colours. I've got some brown, some green, and I've got a little bit of yellow here. Just put it into something like a paint palette so it doesn't go everywhere. Use a dry brush, and this is a flat brush, so it's not pointed like the one I was using previously. Just brush it where you want it to go. Now, pansies normally have quite a dark throat, so we'll put a little bit of the brown underneath. If you want to deepen the colour, just put 2 or 3 layers on. Don't try and get it all on in one go, because you'll just end up with it looking very heavy. To emphasise the leaf, it's actually quite nice to dust with a darker colour down one side and a lighter colour like a yellow down the other. You'll find when you start dusting your flowers or your brush embroidery, it suddenly comes to life and you get a lot more depth and colour into the design. So that shows you how you can do colour on white, and I've now got a little plaque to show you how you can go white on a colour. And now we have a finished cake that has in fact been brush embroidered, again white on a colour.